We're live. We're live. Oh, man, this is weird. Oh, God. As you guys can tell, we got one guest for right now. You guys know how I usually start the show. I usually say, what's up? It's no curfew. But my dad's here, and he has asked me not to start the show like that. He don't want me to say the MF-er, don't want me to drop the F-bomb with him sitting beside of me. So, I'm going to respect his wishes and not say that right now. It might slip out later, but I'm not going to say it right now. But this is No Curfew Dad. This is my dad, Randall Blevins, Audie Randall Blevins. I think he's a little nervous about doing this. I'm a little nervous about having him. But he's here. You going to just say something to him? You going to say hello? Or?
Well, I've been kind of thinking about doing this show ever since you started, and I'm glad I'm here.
Okay.
And we'll see how it goes.
Well,
I'm not really prepared with anything. It's just off the cuff.
That's my style. That's what I do every time.
We'll just go from there.
But we've got somebody else behind the scenes. We're going to bring him over here right now. I'm going to introduce him. Come on. Come here, little boy. Come here, little boy. Look here. There's my mom. And there's my little boy. Say hello. Say hello. Say, my name is Audie. Welcome to No Curfew. This is my daddy and my papa. Little boy, watch this. I'm going to show you how he gets. He likes that mic, don't he? Okay, let's show him how we give kisses, then we'll get started. Let's give kisses. Can I have kisses? Can I have kisses? Oh, he did it. Can I have one more kisses? Oh, he did it. Say hi, Peppa.
Hey, buddy.
Okay.
Go to Gigi.
Go to Mama. Go over there. All right, well, that's a little different way than I usually get started, but I don't know. I've had a couple people that watch the show that's asked me to. God, he's loud sometimes. That's asked me to bring you on, and we just decided to do it. What is today? Saturday, the 3rd of August. Is that what the date is?
Yeah.
But what made you agree to do this? Like, I never, like, they've always said, man, you should get your dad to come on, I was like, he wouldn't do it. He'd never do it. But why are you doing it? What makes you want to do this show with me?
Well, mainly because you asked me to do it. And, but, I think that we can, once we get into it, it's untelling what we may talk about and how it'll go. And hopefully it does good.
Do you watch my show?
I watch some shows, and I'm a little bit older generation, and some of this stuff don't hit me just right. But outside
What do you mean
of that,
don't hit you just right?
well, I'm what you would call from the old school, and I just don't agree with a lot of the language.
He's laughing at you.
And
a lot of mine, like the cuss words I say.
Yeah, I don't like that, and just some of the topics that you've had. I'm not interested. I'm just not.
So you just don't like my show at all?
I have seen some of your shows that I've enjoyed, the ones that kind of relate more to when you was growing up as a kid and talking about some of your old friends. But some of the shows that you've done with people that I don't even know.
Like the rappers, you've probably not gone into like a lot of the rappers.
I'm not into rap music. I don't understand it at all, and so yeah, that doesn't interest me.
I got you. It seems like like every Wednesday. Will you get him, please? He's making a lot of noise. You wanna go outside? You wanna go outside, bub? Yeah. But it seems like I've been doing this show for a while. Like this will be episode probably 43 or something like that. And how I release them. I release one show a week every Wednesday at 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. I release a show and I send it to you. And it seems like when I first got started, it was really exciting. It was new for me and for us. Like I would always talk about it, and you'd ask about how it was going, and I had multiple partners doing it with me, and it seems like you was like just more into it then, and it seemed like you liked the earlier episodes more than you do like me just taking over and doing it by myself. That's like the vibe I've got from you since I've started doing it alone and my partners ditched me.
Well, what I like about the first shows, I like a little bit of a prep for the show. You had some kind of something you was going to talk about, some topics, and it seemed a little bit more organized. And you had people on your computer looking up facts, and it was like a podcast that I've seen before on TV, and I think that would have really developed into something good. You guys was just getting started, and you needed to work and get some more experience. And I think if you all would have stayed together and made a good effort of, improving, it would have been pretty interesting.
So
and you'd have had 3 views and a sidekick over there on the computer helping with facts and views, and it was just pretty interesting.
Thank God. So you're saying, but you're basically saying is now that they left, like there's no hope for me ever having any success with this show. Is that what you're saying?
No, I think you're going to have to. I think you'll have to get a crew behind you. I think any show's got to have support, ideas, and things like that too.
I'm sorry about that. Sorry about that. Had some technical problems, didn't we?
I guess we did.
Oh God, we had some technical problems we had to take care of. Oh Lord. But I don't even remember what the last thing I said was. Do you?
Well, I thought we was going to start all over.
I mean, no, we don't need to start over. We've already introduced TR and stuff. You're my dad, but I was saying what I was saying was, because when it edits, it won't be like a break. It'll be like we'll cut it and then it'll go right back into us doing this. So it won't be like a long break. But when I first started doing the show, it was really cool for me to have 2 other guys doing it with me. We didn't even have to have guests. We could just do a 3-man show, and I could just sit back and I was really quick. I could really be like funny and witty and just real quick and sharp. Doing it. I could react to them saying stuff. Like sometimes Connor would say something silly, or Harrison would say something, or they would say something controversial, and I could react, and it was just a back and forth like banter. Now it's the show is heavily relying on me to be able to just carry the load. Put in most of the work, and like it's just me doing it. It's my show, and that's just part of the deal, and I like it. But it was almost, I can describe it, more relaxing to have partners. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was more.
And that's what I would, if I was you, I would even consider going out and trying to find more new partners, that people would be interested in doing a show with you, and see if you can get something together. And because, first time you sit here and try to make this happen, it may not happen. You need to try different things and see what works the best. And this might be the one that works the best. But I think if it was me, I would try to get 2 other guys. I would try to do a format that each show and what guest was on, that it would be, you would have some background and of your guest, and you can ask the right questions, the right topics to talk about.
Yeah, I feel like I do that fine with my guests. Like I feel like I do when I have a show just me and a guy I don't know. He's a guest on my show. I feel like I do okay, but it's like even with a guest, like to have 3 eyes on that guest instead of 1, like 3 different things it can give me. Like I could go maybe 10 minutes without talking, and the show would go on, and the show would be fine.
Right.
And but now, like if I don't talk for 10 minutes, like it's just a waste of time.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I have to talk constantly the whole time.
And I thought that was pretty interesting to me. I kind of enjoyed listening to all 3 of you guys, and then your guest on top of that, instead of just you and me, for 2 hours. That's a long time for anybody.
So you telling everybody they should just cut it off and not watch the rest of it? Is that what you're saying?
No, no, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying
it is a long time. Like I will say, podcast is a relatively new idea. You know what I mean? It's not. There's like been radio shows, and what a podcast. It's kind of the same thing. Like what a podcast is meant for, in my opinion, is for someone driving to work, or they have a commute to work every day, or they're commuting somewhere, they're on a road trip, or they're going on vacation. They just turn on a podcast and listen to it in the car, and that's kind of what it is. It does take it's a new thing, and it does take like a little bit of, it's like watching a good movie. We always argue about movies and stuff, but like if you watch, a good movie, you have to invest in it. Like you have to put the work in to get the reward. Like you have to sit through like, the stagnant parts and like the parts that are, like I'm not saying there's boring parts of the show, but you have to just watch the whole thing to be able to digest it. Like there's some movies, like funny movies it's just like they'll just they tell you how to feel the whole time. Like deep, like psychological movies you have to watch and come up with your own synopsis of it, and like just let it like sink in. It ain't just like boom right there. Like you see it and you laugh. It's like you have to dissect it and think about it. Like with the podcast, that was a good point he made, and you think on what he said. And I don't know, it's just a different thing. But for people like me, like I've always been into that, and it's really fun. And I've always wanted to do a show. And even though it's, I'm doing it by myself and I don't have them partners, I'm just happy to still be doing it, and I'm proud of myself that I've stuck with it.
Yeah, you've done good, and it's not easy
3
sitting
weeks,
here.
It'll be a year.
It's not easy sitting here and having a conversation for 2 hours. So you do have a talent, but like you said,
what would you call that talent? Like it's kind of a weird word. It's kind of a weird way to describe a talent like that. Like what would you?
Well, it's you're witty, you're quick, you've got a lot of knowledge to be able to do that. But the thing about it is, it's like you said, somebody's going down the highway listening to something. It has to be interesting, and what's interesting to me is a lot of facts. Mm-hmm. I love facts, and I just don't like just going on talking about this or that, and it's not very interesting. People don't really want to hear too much about my life, because my life is pretty basic, and I'm not the most exciting man in the world. Mm-hmm. So
are you saying that in general? Like, are you saying there's sometimes I'll just like talk about a lot of personal stuff and talk about myself and my situation, and you would rather just hear like an actual like a broad topic, like you'd learn about something else besides like a deep issue I'm talking about, like something I'm internally dealing with.
Right.
Like you'd rather hear about aliens.
You have to think about your audience. If you want your audience to be a small audience that knows you and can look back and remember your childhood and the things that you're talking about, that'd be pretty interesting to them. But that's a pretty small audience. If you're going to get out there and get the numbers up on this show, you got to do things that people out there would be that don't even know you, that would catch your ear. Talking about.
Have you worked in television or something before?
No, but I just know how I listen to radio, and I know what is going to catch my ear. It's not going to be somebody talking about Ozzy.
Ozzy, like my friend Ozzy. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I'm into Ozzy. Anything you say about Ozzy, I know.
I got you.
But 200 people that's listening to your show might know that. If you're going down the highway and you're on the radio and you're listening to that, they're not going to stay there very long.
Oh yeah, I know what you're trying to say, but one thing I think of that, like, I watch a lot of podcasts and people talk about their own personal struggles and stuff they've dealt with and what that is, and like one thing you said, like, for my ear, I'm not into that, but that's like you said, that's your ear. Like for people like me, like when I see someone talking about something they dealt with, and I can find, I can find myself in their story of what they're saying. I can relate to what they're saying. Like that appeals to me. Like it's like a human interest piece is kind of what it is. Like when I'm talking about my life or my past, or when I'm talking about my friends and I'm telling a story about myself or something, like an experience I've had. Like that's like it's about me, but it also, like, people can find themselves in it. Yeah. Like somebody can watch that and they can be like, man, like I know what that dude's talking about. That's cool. Like he's had like a similar, like tragedy happen to him or a similar experience. Like he thinks similar. Like, and they can find joy in that. They can love that. Like I do. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's and that is true. If you're on a topic that hits home to a lot of different people. But that's what I'm saying. Your down home topics doesn't hit a lot of people. Now when you talk about people on drugs, That's going to hit a lot of people. You know, you talk about people in struggles in their lives as far as maybe getting through school or maybe their jobs and stuff like that, their families, having a kid, divorce. A lot of that stuff's going to hit home to people. But just your hometown playing ball and going out on a Saturday night with your buddies, you know, you're going to narrow your audience pretty quick.
I think that kind of, I mean, I know what you're saying. Like you always try to critique what I'm doing, but I think that's a pretty, you know, like short-sighted view of my show. Like there's probably not a lot of people who's watched every single episode and listened to every single word I've ever said. But if you take the time to listen to like all 44 episodes I've done, that's not like that is a big part of what it is. Like my you know, past experiences and like my life and my stories and my story in general is a big part of the show. But I've had interesting guests on. I've had a guy who, you know, did like a summer internship for NASA, and we talked about the future of the world and how artificial intelligence is just kind of like combined with us, and or we're just going to be a big AI one day. I've had comedians come on. I've had like Lexington artists come on. Like I've had, you know, I had a black feminist liberal college student woman come on. Like I've had, you know, a pretty big variety of guests come on. I've had MMA fighters come on. I've had MMA instructors come on. Like I feel like I've, you know, I've tried to reach a pretty broad audience, but I do kind of get what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree with it, because like you're basically just saying my whole show is just about like my high school days and like my past, and that I don't really feel like that's the truth or that's the case, because I've hit a lot of different, you know, you say the word topics. I've touched on a lot of different things.
And you have.
Well, you just said I didn't.
I'm not saying you didn't. I'm saying what catches people to sit here and listen to you, it's got to be something interesting. And you have had a lot of interesting shows that should capture a pretty good audience. You know, a lot of the shows didn't capture me because, like I said at the beginning, I'm not into a lot of that stuff. But a lot of people are, especially your age and people that's going to be watching this would be.
So can you see how, you know, like you just said it, and I've told you that before, like, you know, my audience, like I have like analytics on my YouTube. I can see the age and the sex and the location of my audience. I can see who the people are, basically, like how they are, if they're man or woman, and where they live. I know who watches my show. And the demographic, you know, like it's not that of, you know, a show, say like Joe Osteen or something like that. It's not 55-year-old, you know, women in the Bible Belt that watch my show.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So your opinion of what I'm doing, I mean, I'm not saying it's not valid, but it's definitely not, you know, it's not the majority opinion, you know, because you're a minority watching my show compared to the rest of my audience. You know what I'm saying? So, and just like me, like, you know, like you didn't want me to start the show by saying, no curfew, the motherfucker boy. You didn't want me to say that.
Right.
There's literally, I would say, if, you know, there's 100% of my audience, 99% of them, you know, you're the 1% that would even think something of that. Yeah. I don't think one person that watches this show thinks one thing of me saying like the F word or cussing or doing anything like that. They don't even notice it. Like they don't sit there and watch and go, oh my God, he just said, like, it's just, you know, part of the deal. Like they're just waiting to hear what else I say. Like that don't stand out to them, but it does to you because of your age and you know, your time and the world that you've spent, and you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
Why is that funny?
Well, it's just, you know, there's a lot to me, the reason I don't like that.
Well, I was wanting to ask, like, what is, like, you know, what's the big reason you would not want me to say that?
Well, for one reason.
And you always get on to me for saying
for one reason, you're my son.
So.
And everybody that I know is mostly like me. My friends is mostly got the same views as I've got. And where we're from definitely is a Bible Belt area. We don't talk like that. So, and I don't want my son talking like that. Even though, yeah, I realize that there's people, and the majority of people don't even think about that, but I do, and I'm not going to change. That,
I got you.
You know, whatever generations do behind me, or they're not going to change me. what has made me is the generations that's in front of me, and I like what they made out of me.
Can you see where, like, that's almost, like, to me when I hear something like that, that almost sounds like dangerous to me. Like that, you basically just admitted that you're going to be very short-sighted and very closed-minded with your beliefs and your opinions and your outlooks on different things. And like I don't think, like, as if you talk about your generation, well, your generation was different than the one before and the one before and the one before then. And like human beings evolve and generations evolve into different things. And I feel like, if you're just not going to be riding that wave, like, you don't have to just give in everything you believe morally or anything like that. But just to have like a negative outlook on a new wave, let's say of technology, or just a new wave of different things adding to the culture. Like if you're just going to be against it, like you're just going to get swallowed whole, and you'll eventually just be eaten up with like just anger and frustration with the world around you instead of embracing the world around you and loving the world around you.
And I'm not saying that.
I'm not. You know how many times you said that already?
I'm not.
Like you're saying something, then I'll say something, and
no.
you go, I'm not saying
well,
that.
I'm not. You got to listen to what I'm saying.
I am listening to what you're saying. I'm not. He's going to start
there's things in generations that's not going to. When I was growing up, we, as classmates, we respected each other. I watched you guys go through your junior high and high school. You said things to people that we would never do that. And that's part of, I'm not going to let that change. I'm not going to say, I'm going to respect people.
Are you saying, I've said things to people you would never, like, what do you mean? Like, give me an example of what you're talking about. And can you kind of lean in?
Well, you guys,
you can speak honestly, like, so I really want to know what you mean by that.
When I watched you guys grow up.
Who's you, like me and my friends?
You and your friends. You didn't care what you said to each other.
Like,
you didn't
aggravating each other?
Yeah, you didn't care what you said to women. And I wasn't brought up like that. I was brought up to respect everybody. And that's what
That guy keeps walking around here.
Yeah, and that's what I try to do, and that's what I see. When I talk about the generations, some of that stuff in the generations below me, I'm not going to let that influence me. I'm not a high-tech guy. I'm not going to sit there on my phone, and I'm not going to live my life through my phone. And I see the generation of your age living their whole life through their phone, and I think it's sad. Just like, I had my grandson today. Me and my grandson done things like.
Well, he's my son too. Like
he's your son.
Yeah, but just so that the people know, I took my son to visit him. That's what the deal was.
And when he was over there visiting me, we done things like I done when I was growing up. We sat around and we kind of talked. We goofed off. We danced a little bit. We listened to some music.
You used to be a big dancer.
No, but I'm just saying that's what we done today. We listened to music, and he likes to dance.
He does.
So I danced with him, and we went out in the yard. He helped me trim up some bushes. He took his little
17 months old.
He took his little lawnmower out there, and he was cutting grass when I was cutting grass. And we got ready to horse the car, and he went out there, and he took that water hose at 17 months old, and he was spraying that car off when it was 100 degrees, and it helped me a lot. So that's, I took him out to the world that I was. I was brought up to do all that kind of stuff, and I enjoy doing that kind of stuff. And I see people, a lot of people your age, not the majority of them, but I see a lot of them. They never go out of the house to do anything. They sit up in their room and they live on their phones. They don't get out to socialize. They don't do anything. So that's what I mean. There's some things about this, the way the world's developing, that I don't want any part of.
I gotcha.
So, this when I say I don't believe in cussing and carrying on, I don't. But there's a whole lot more that's out there that I'm not going to let do. And then you guys got some good ideas.
You're just talking about basically every negative thing that's like, you know, because every new generation, like, they're not going to be perfect. You know, like, anybody up and coming is going to have flaws.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's a trial and error. It's the first time figuring stuff out, you know, like making their mark in the world. And that's just a negative thing that's, you know, that's part of our party right now. But there's, you know, there's definitely great things about being youthful in, you know, in today's age. You know, like you talked about technology. I'm not a tech savvy guy either. Like, you see me, I had to call Harrison like before the show started to help him get the audio down. And I've had prior shows where the audio ain't been very good, and I'm hoping right now they can hear us through the mics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, say something. Say hello.
Well, hello.
Like, I hope they can hear that through the mic. You know what
I believe they will be able to.
But that's a part of our generation. You know, and it was handed, I'm sure, like, you know, like, it was handed down, like, things, you know, it wasn't started with us, but like technology and stuff like that, and like advancement in modern medicine, like, you know, modern science, like, our healthcare, like, everything is like progressing, and it's, you know, stuff like that's a very big part of our generation too. Like, besides being disrespectful little punks, like, we've also done a couple of good things like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, the athlete is a different athlete this day and time. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, there was no LeBron James in the 70s.
No.
There wasn't. I'm just going to ask you this. Like, we'll just take a little break from everything we was talking about. Do you think if LeBron James, his rookie year was in 1969, and he played 20 seasons, how many rings would he win? If his rookie season was 1969, he retired in 1989. That would be his retired season.
It's hard to say because the game is completely played different. You know, back in the 70s, it was a lot of set plays.
A lot of you know, like, position, like, big man to the post only basketball.
It was a big man's game back in the 70s. You know, it was just a different game. You know, I don't know. You know, he can't go out there and beat 5 professional ball players by himself with his style. He would have to have a style, and his teammates would have to go with him. So, you know, who knows? But how many has he got now?
I think, what, do you have 5 or 4, 3 or 5?
I was thinking he had about 3.
Well, he won 2 with Miami, and he won 1 with Cleveland, right? So I guess he has 3.
So, you know,
he's about to have 4, probably.
You know, a lot of people think he's the greatest player of all times, and he's been in the league about 20 years now, and he's got 3.
Well, he's been in the finals, like, literally 11 times.
Yeah.
You know, with a very, you know, mediocre team around him.
But you got to close. Yeah. So, you know, who knows what he would have done back in the 70s. You know, the 70s, man, they was great players.
Who was like the face of the league in the 70s? Like Dr. J?
Dr. J, and he was probably the biggest face in the 70s. Was
Wilt around in the 70s, or was he done in the 60s?
No, he was in the 70s.
Wilt was?
Yeah.
And Kareem, did Kareem get started, or is he more? His prime was in the 80s, wasn't it?
No,
Kareem Abdul.
You know, he was in the 70s strong, and because
like Bill Walton played.
Wilt and Kareem, you know, played together. That was the biggest night of the week, you know, or the month when them
No,
guys.
they didn't.
Yeah, they did. They didn't
play
play
for the Bucks when he first came
I know.
in.
I'm just saying when they played
His name was
each other.
Sindor.
When they played each other, man.
Like the Bucks versus the Lakers.
That was a big night for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I loved it.
You remember like Bill Russell and stuff like that?
Well, I don't remember Bill
older.
Russell. I don't even remember watching Bill Russell play.
Mm-hmm.
The oldest guy that I look back, Willis Reed.
Who did he play for? I know who that is. I just can't.
New York.
But yeah, he played for the Knicks.
So I mean, but that was great basketball. And another thing made that so great. You didn't have all the entertainment that you've got today. Mm-hmm. You know,
like you didn't have something else to watch. That's what you watched.
Right. And that was, you know, when Frazier and Ali fought, that was the biggest nights of your life, mm-hmm. you know, to get to sit there and watch that.
Did you remember watching stuff like that? You remember watching like Muhammad Ali fight on TV?
Oh, yeah. And I remember the feeling I had. It was just great. I mean, you know how you get all excited about a big UFC fight, mm-hmm. and you see those all the time. Well, imagine getting to just see it maybe once every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
and that's the way we done. And when you got to watch it, you know, Foreman and Frazier and Ali and Man, that was big nights, and that you still remember.
There's some big business back then, wasn't it?
It was big business, and then you see those highlights still yet today, and I watched it live.
Yeah, people like, Muhammad Ali and like even Wilt Chamberlain, definitely, they shaped their sports, and like they're definitely like pioneers of what they did. Like, I think Wilt Chamberlain was, like the first of his kind, like a very, he's freaking 7 foot, like just, I can't remember anybody before him who was really like that. Like he's a big, black, good looking 7 foot guy, just like smooth Laker, like, you know what I mean? Like, he was just, like, I can't think of another player like before him that would ever had like the swag he did. He like scored 100 points in a game. And Muhammad Ali, like, he was definitely the first of his kind. There was never no Ali before Ali, like he invented that style, and it's still, like people still do it to this day. They try to, like what's the word? Not manipulate. What's the word?
Intimidate?
No, what's the word? How can we not think of this word?
To showboat?
No, they tried to intimate. What? This is a very simple word. Like, what's the word? I'm sure the people watching is like saying the word right now. You know what I'm talking about, right? When you're trying
intimidate?
No, that's to scare someone.
Well, he's done that a lot.
No, like and try to like do what he does. It's a freaking starts with an I. What's the word called?
I really don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. you got off subject there.
Oh, you're big about staying on subject, ain't you?
No, I'm just saying
staying on topic. He's big about them topics.
I don't know what you're talking about.
God bless boys.
But
well, I'm gonna have to like take a break or something and like Google what that word is.
But Ali was great. Frazier was great. Those two guys are still big topics today. When you talk about boxing, I don't think boxing will ever be that exciting again.
Well, the reason it was very exciting then because they were heavyweights. They were the biggest in the world, and they were the baddest, big names. Like now, today in boxing, up until now, the last 20 years since Tyson left, there's been no big names in heavyweight boxing really. Nobody's taken over and just ran through people. But now we have that big 3-headed dragon, and now I guess 4-headed dragon. We got people remember Tyson Fury, the big 6'9" Irish guy who won that fight, but he got knocked out and just in the 12th round. His big pasty ass was just laying there. You remember that?
But he come back.
He came up, and the Undertaker woke up from the dead, all 6'9" of him. We laughed off of him.
It was fun.
And the guy who knocked him down, Deontay Wilder. And
now that was pretty.
Yeah,
exciting.
those are it's bringing back the heavyweight boxing. And Anthony Joshua's another guy, but he just got beat by a little short fat Mexican dude named Anthony Ruiz, I think is his name. Yeah. So there's some big names in heavyweight boxing coming back. But one thing that people always says, just going back to LeBron, people always talked about, if LeBron played in the 80s, there's no way he could, handle the physicality of it. He couldn't handle playing against the bad boys and the Pistons. Bill Laimbeer and LeBron dropped the lane one time, Bill Laimbeer clothes on him. That's stupid. That's literally ignorant. LeBron is 6'8", 250, 260 pounds. He'll dunk all over Bill Laimbeer, and Bill Laimbeer has anything to say about it, he'll wear him out after the game. That's a fact.
No, that's not a fact.
That's a fact, dude. Bill Laimbeer wouldn't do shit to him. He wouldn't do nothing.
The Pistons.
The Pistons are just just not near the man that LeBron is.
They made it very hard for Michael Jordan to ever get his first championship.
Well, he didn't get one till they left.
Because they was very physical, and LeBron has never played a team like that. I think these guys today, especially people like LeBron, if you foul LeBron, he's going to cry. He wants that.
That's what a lot of old heads.
He wants that.
That's the point they always bring up.
He wants that call, because that the style is not like that anymore. But I like that old style, and when I played a little ball myself, and I like to get in there and play a good, clean, rough game. I don't like to play dirty, but I like to play rough because I could play off that.
Like Gary O'Brien.
Gary O'Brien's a little bit different.
My dad's always told me stories of people he grew up with, and he said Gary O'Brien's just one of the toughest birds he's ever played basketball with.
Well, you come out bleeding when you play the O'Briens.
Tell me about Everett Stafford.
Well, I don't know about Everett Stafford, but we went up to the O'Briens once and played in their driveway.
Yeah.
And about 3 of the O'Briens come out bleeding. Mouth busted, nose busted.
Did they just fight each other? What
No,
was they doing?
man, they just rough. I mean, they were very competitive, and it was just a driveway Sunday pickup game, just out there having a good time.
They take it serious.
Oh, yeah.
They used the Bill and Beer.
They were-
Where did
they
they live at?
That was at Brad and Jennifer's house at West Manley.
They're the bad boys at West Manley.
No, they was the bad boys from Jennings Creek.
From Jennings Creek.
Yeah.
What was you like? Who would you be compared to back in your balling days?
I was the bad cat from Central Avenue in Ashland.
Well, who was he? Was he Pete Maravich? Was you?
Was I?
Yeah. Was he Magic Johnson?
I guess I could have been
Les Trimble.
more of a Magic Johnson because I had
Did you have AIDS?
I could pass the ball. I could shoot the ball.
Womanizer.
I could play a guard. I could play the big guy.
Play with women.
No.
You didn't have AIDS like Magic Johnson.
No, I didn't have AIDS.
What about Les Trimble? Did you ever play Les Trimble in basketball?
Les Trimble.
Did you and Rod ever play him and Tim Pelfrey 2-on-2?
Yeah.
How'd it go?
Well, we was down there by W.R. Castle, and we was playing on an 8-foot dunk go. And me and Rod, which, we never did play.
Rod's your brother.
We never did play high school ball, but we played a lot of ball.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of ball. And I played a lot of ball after I graduated because I was 5'2" as a freshman, and I'm 6'2" now as, 20 years old, I'm 6'2". So I got out there and played a lot of ball after I grew a little bit. But, them guys, Pelfrey and Trimble, man, I loved watching Trimble play. He was a talent, high school talent, and still known as a good player that went through Johnson Central.
I won his one-on-one tournament a couple times when I was a little kid.
Yeah, and he, I guess he's still maybe the basketball coach for Paintsville. I don't know.
I think he's last time I checked, he was the girls' coach.
And great guy. Him and Tim both. Tim was one of your baseball coaches that you really.
He's my big buddy.
That loved, and he worked with you a lot, and good buddies with you, and that means a lot. To have a baseball coach that can be a lifetime buddy, and I've got one. Randy Cooper. He was my baseball coach when we lived in Ashland, and I remember the first practice we had. We looked like a team that was like the Bad News Bears. I mean, there's no way we were going to win a game.
Yeah.
And he said that he said, looks like we got a good group of kids here, and I think we're going to win it all this year. And here's the difference.
Did you have Scott Murray?
No. Here's the difference. I giggled when he said that. Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
And he looked at me, and he said, "Do you have a problem with that?" And I went, "No, sir." And that's why I'm talking about the respect. It absolutely cut me in two that I disrespected him, and I never forgot that. So little did I know what kind of coach he was going to be. He was the best baseball coach. Learned more from him than anybody I've ever coached me. We won every single game. We won the championship, and we went over to the American League and played the championship there and got.
That's how was it in Paintsville?
No, this is a national.
Okay, yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
And,
they had their league like a national and an American.
So we went over there and we got our butt kicked, but we didn't. In our league, we won every game. We dominated. And then my older brother Stan talked to him.
Stan the Snowman.
Talked to him about a month ago, and he was in Florida. Here it is, almost 60 years old. I was 9 years old, still go and see him every once in a while. We still talk every once in a while. So it's good that you had a guy like that with Tim.
I had a couple coaches like that. I'd say like the three. I've had a couple, man. Like I had, obviously Tim and Derek.
Yeah.
Like Derek Preston. And I had Eddie was like that for me too. Eddie Blair.
Oh yeah.
Remember how close I was with Eddie? Remember Scott?
Yeah.
Scott Holbrook.
I mean,
I was real
those
close
guys.
with Scott.
Those guys was into it.
But like, probably besides Tim, maybe Derek, the biggest one, Herman.
Well, yeah.
Remember how, Herman was like, Herman still to this day, like, you love Herman, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm a big Herman Preston guy. He was my dog.
I like all those guys because they was a big part of your life, and I can relate to that. When I was a young kid, Robin Cooper or Randy Cooper was a big part of my.
He probably wouldn't like Herman though. Man, Herman's just one of a kind, son.
No.
Herman walk in, take a whole can of Red Seal, one chew right here front with you.
No, Randy wasn't like that.
Herman would put in a big hog leg, son. Hog nut, not hog leg. Hog legs, hog nut right in front of it. Okay,
yeah.
You meant Dr. Pepper counts.
No, it was a different. You didn't carry on like that with your coach back in my day.
But me and Herman did, Belly. We'll chew
but
some
this
scope.
this guy owned the bluegrass.
He go for 4 fingers, son. Go okay. 4 finger in the morning.
Yeah.
Eat you a Chick-fil-A sandwich and a big 4 finger boss dip right afterwards.
But Randy Cooper owned the bluegrass restaurant there in Ashland.
Did he?
He did. And when
He get you fix your grilled cheese?
No, but we got a lot of milkshakes,
really?
After practice or after the game.
Remember Bob Gordou's take us to Dairy Queen after every win? With the Mariners, we was terrible.
But how'd you like to be playing for the guy that owned it? But I went with him today that he bought it.
Okay.
And he was a young man, and he bought this thing, and he kept it in a dying breed. That's where you ordered outside at the speakers, and he kept that thing going for 40 years.
Yeah. Is it still there?
No, it's not. But
it seems like I've heard of that place. I thought it was like on the Parkway or something, like on the way to Lakes.
No, it's right in when you start getting into Ashland. Okay. I moved that. Yeah.
You gonna fix it? Okay.
But it's so I can relate to how coaches can be a big part of your life. But getting back to Trimble and Pelfrey, they was big ball players, and I get they was playing ball then for the high school. But your talent don't always hit the court, in high school.
Mm-hmm.
They was a great talent, but me and Rod, we never played a game of basketball in our life at Johnson Central, and we beat them.
You beat him?
We beat him.
Would Les think that would he agree to that? Would he, like, if he seen this, like if I sent this clip to Luke and then Luke showed Les, would Les say he didn't beat us, or would he agree that you and Rod beat him?
Well, I know they was getting beat.
Yeah.
And any athlete knows, when you played the 24 win before and you never was up one sequence of the whole game. Yeah. We was beating them, but it was tough. Yeah. It was back and forth.
What was the end result? What was the final score?
The end result that Tim went up to dunk and Rod blocked it, and he fell back and broke his wrist. That was the end of the game.
Tim broke his wrist?
Yeah.
And you guys never finished the game?
No, that was the end of it.
But you was smoking them?
No, we wasn't smoking them, but we was beating them.
Okay.
We was ahead throughout the whole game, and it was probably... it probably went past 24 win before. It was probably up in the 30s.
Yeah.
It was a battle, but that's how it ended. But I'm just saying, here we wasn't even ever on the court, and we was beating the Stars.
Yeah. How much older are you than Tim?
Well, I'm 58. I don't know how old Tim is.
He's in his 50s though. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean it wasn't a big age difference then.
I gotcha.
But especially Rod, Rod may have even been in high school with him, and I was just graduated. It wasn't a big age group, when you're up there 17 years old, it's not like a 17-year-old playing a 14-year-old. Mm-hmm. When you're 17 playing a 20-year-old, they're not a big strength difference.
Thinking I was 17, 18 years old, I'd wear out a 30-year-old. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's just part of the deal. It went no different. It made no mind to me how old you was. You know what I'm saying? But people, I always talk to people about like basketball. Like I never played basketball in high school, but I played my whole life, didn't I?
Yeah.
Like I played a lot of competitive basketball growing up. I played on traveling teams. Like Eddie had an AAU team over at Central Elementary. He played like some high competitive games. I remember we'd come up here to the little tournament they always have. It's called like the CBA or KBA, like Kentucky Baptist, like something like that. And we'd play in like the state tournament. We'd always play this team called the Warriors. They was like a bunch of like bunch of little black dudes. You know what I'm saying? They just
I remember it well.
They beat us like I remember the first time we were playing them. They literally beat us like 60 points.
Yeah.
They smoked us.
And they was I remember this. They was about 2 minutes in the fourth quarter left, and they was still in full court press.
Yeah. They was like tearing us to pieces.
And those parents, you know, on our team, they said, "What's going on?" I said, "They're just playing the game." I said, "You know, they're getting ready to go to a national tournament. Mm-hmm. You know, they can't help if we can't play with them." And I was all for it. You know, they thought that was awful that they was just still full court press.
Remember that.
But
I think I like fouled out, and I was just watching them do that, and I didn't like it either. But I remember like the last year I played, like in sixth grade. I remember fifth grade they beat the shit out of us. They killed us. And in sixth grade we went back, and we was like up at like halftime. Like it was like when Shane had, you know, remember my sixth grade year how big Shane got, and
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
What is it?
I just hurt my neck. I'm good.
You're just sitting in a chair. How'd you hurt your neck? What are you all right? You had a stroke or something? What,
I guess
you get stung by a bee?
Where I mowed grass and stuff in that weed eater.
Okay.
Where you was sitting on the couch.
Yeah, man, bullshit.
Me and Audie was out there mowing grass.
Yeah.
While this generation was sitting on the couch.
But we was up at freaking halftime, and like I remember, like we only lost like 10 or 12. Like we played like a good game with them the next year.
Yeah.
And they had dudes on that team. Like I remember they had. I'm pretty sure. Like I don't know if you remember this guy, but do you remember my senior year? Me and you and Mom went and watched the state championship basketball game at Rep Arena.
With
Morgan.
But was Paintsville in it? Or
no, it was basketball. It was the high school state tournament.
Who was
Trinity? It was Trinity playing someone.
Okay.
I think the boys, like, you know, the boys, our team might have went to the state tournament. Probably while we was down there, but me and Garrett rode down there together to watch them, I think. You remember?
Yeah.
Like, they won the regional championship, but we was watching Trinity play someone. And they had a dude, he won, like, the Gatorade, like, same stuff JJ won. He won, like, the Gatorade at Kentucky Athlete of the Year. He won, like, Mr. Football. He went to Trinity. His name was James Quick. And he played on that team. Like, he played on the Warriors in 2 years I played against him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was, like, he went on to Louisville and, you know, was, like, a starting wide receiver for 4 years at Louisville. Like, I don't know if he entered the draft or what he did, but he was, you know, he was a big talent. And I, like, competed against him playing basketball when I was a little kid. And I'll talk to people, you know, that played ball in school, and, like, now I just don't get, like, the same respect as, you know, as far as basketball as, you know, like I used to, or it's like all the guys that played in high school does, and it kind of gets on my nerves.
What?
Because I could smoke him. Like, I could literally, like, you know, remember how good I was at one-on-ones? Like, there's only one person that's ever consistently beat me at one-on-one. You know who that is?
Your old buddy?
Yeah.
Gallagher.
Like, Matt Gallagher is the only person who ever could take it to me in one-on-one. And I'd beat him rarely, but he was good. He was a good ball player.
Well, he was he was a basketball player.
He was an athlete. He was athletic. Right. He was good. Like, but like I could like play with Josh Green. Like I could play with him down low, and he had a good career at Paintsville. And I remember I'd play ball like my freshman year. I played ball with the seniors. I was friends with like Heath Ward on the boys, and I'd pull up and just, you know, shoot a jump. Like I could play ball with any of them. Like I mean, I want you to say, I want just the people like, and there's like Tanner and them bunch, like you know, your nephew Tanner. They think Chad Roberts could beat me in basketball.
Well, I don't know if he can or not.
He can't. Just think. You remember Chad? He can't touch me in basketball.
But here's the deal.
You know, just irritates me thinking.
Just like. And, you know, you may not like this, but just like you're talking about Green playing basketball and having a good career. Well, Green, he was, 6'2", in Paintsville. He wasn't a basketball player.
No.
Gallagher was a basketball player, and that's why Gallagher beat you.
Yeah.
You could shoot. You knew how to post. You knew.
Well, that's what I did. I lived at the post.
You could back people under the go, and you figured out a way to win.
Mm-hmm. I was like good. I could beat a lot of people one-on-one. I was very
just
good
like Ward out there playing for Central. You know, there's a lot of guys plays on that court that's not basketball players. They're playing
for the high school.
They just go through the system and stick with it, and that's probably who you say Tanner's buddy?
Chad.
He
never even played in high school.
He didn't?
No, he never. He played like his freshman year, like on the JV team in Quiff. He never played ball.
I thought he played all 4 years.
No.
Who played all 4 years?
A lot of people did.
No, that Tanner, one of his buddies.
James Chafin's, I don't even think he played all 4 years, but he played like his junior and senior year.
Yeah.
And he's huge.
No, I thought Chad did.
No, Chad never played ball. He wasn't very good back then. He can play now. Like, Chad can go out there, like, at a college, at a pickup game and play some ball and do pretty well. But, like, they just see him doing well, and it's like they forgot, like, who the man was. You know what I mean? Like, I was the freaking man back in the day.
Well,
like, me and Matt Gallagher would go run a court on anyone. And Dylan, remember how good Dylan Stanford was and people like that? Like, we could play ball with anybody.
Well, that's back in the day.
I mean, that's just, like, what's any different now? Like, I play basketball every day at work. Like, I work with them kids, and I go in the gym. I go in there and shoot lights out still, like, all the time.
Yeah,
and I'm twice as big as Chad. Like, you know, like, it just really bothers me that they think, oh, Chad Roberts, little boy from where's he from? Where are they from? Van Leer? They're from, them boys out in Johns Creek. You know where Johns Creek is?
Yeah.
I think him and Nick Wells and all them boys are from Johns Creek. Some boy out Johns Creek can beat a kid out from Cross Creek. There ain't no way they could do that.
Yeah. Well, it don't make any difference.
It does make a difference to me because they can't do it, and I'm going to show them one day.
Well, when you going to do it?
Well, I got to get, you know, I talk about this all the time about my heart, but I can get my heart straightened up, and then I wear them out. You don't think I'll get it straightened up?
Well, you can't use that for an excuse for the rest of your life.
I mean, I can't, but it is the excuse right now, and it's a very valid excuse.
I think your heart's doing fine.
It does.
I think you can be out there getting yourself in shape.
Well, I try to. I'm hoping, you know, we've talked about my goals and stuff I want to do. Like, I've thought about, you know, having a go to have, you know, to be healthy and have my heart straightened up by January. That way I can apply to be a police officer and be a cop for somewhere in Central Kentucky in January. But, you know, I think it may take a little longer than that to, like, even get my heart better and then start getting in shape again to, like, do the stuff to be a cop. It may take maybe a year, maybe 2 years.
This is the 8th month. You got 4 more months or 5 that you can get yourself in shape. And here's the thing.
And to, like, have some weight loss. Like,
here's
get
the
my
thing.
belly off of me.
You'll soon be 25. In a few days, you're going to be 25 years old.
I want to talk about it.
Well, a 25-year-old man should be able to whip yourself in really good shape in 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
Now, somebody my age, I may not be able to whip you could do something in 5 months that it would take me 5 years. So yeah, you can reach that goal, but you got to get out there and get it.
I know.
You got to do it every day, and you got to live it. Just like, you know, when I was 20 years old, I decided I wanted to gain weight and get some muscle on me and stuff like that.
You was real skinny, wasn't you?
Yeah.
Why didn't I ever have that problem? Like, why am I just big like
Well,
this?
you take after your mom's side of the family.
They're just a little bigger, a little heftier.
Yeah, but, you know, I worked out for 6 months at 20 years old, and I changed my body completely, and it's never went back to that 150-pound guy that I was before I started.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, to me, it's just how bad you want it. And if you want to get out there and get it.
Like, you remember, like right when I moved to Lex in, like, 2015, I was, like, 280 pounds. You remember I lost, like, 50 pounds. I got down to, like, 230 pounds.
You done it?
I did. Like, I did really well. But it just, you know, hey, there's just things that go on, you know, more than anybody else does. That just kind of makes it hard. But I think about it every day. Like, I need to stay hard on my diet. I need to sleep better. And I need to start, you know, easily walking or running and start. Because I used to run all the time, too.
Yeah. And
remember when I broke my leg running? Like,
oh, yeah.
That kind of put a hold on things.
But that's something you can do. I mean, that's, you know, you want to sit around and talk about it, or you want to say, hey, I'm going to do this. And you can do it.
Yeah,
that's just all there are to it. And just like you told me this about 4 weeks ago, I'm going to start. I'm going to do it. Well, it's 4 weeks later. Do you weigh any less? Have you went to bed on a different schedule? Is your eating habits changed? I don't think that it has.
Well, I mean, there's one thing about that. Like I try. There's days I'll do good, but I need to put a week together. You know what I mean? I need to put, like, a solid 2 weeks, like 14 days straight, 21 days straight. They say, like, after you do something every day, if you do something every day consistently for 21 days, it becomes a habit.
Well,
or something like, or if you don't do it for 21 days, you break the habit or something.
And
I need to put it together, like, you know, a week and then a month of, you know, staying on my diet and losing, like, 5 pounds a week. Because when you're a bigger guy like this, you can shed weight easier. Like, you can shed pounds fast, you know, compared to somebody who's skinny.
Right.
You don't have the fat to
And that's
lose.
something I think you need to do. You need to get things in place to do that. Just like there's a brand new set of scales. you need to get those scales out, and you need to weigh
What are you talking
yourself.
about, brand new set of scales?
At the house, there's a
At
brand new
your
set of
house?
scales in the box.
At your house?
Yeah.
Well, that's at your house.
You need to get those scales, and you need to weigh yourself every day. Every morning, you need to weigh yourself, and that will help you keep yourself in check. But you can't do this. Look, I got to get a week together. I got to get 21 days together. I think the way you look at it, I've got a future out there that I want to do, and it depends on my physical being, my health, and all that, and I'm going to do that. And you got to get busy doing it, and it's not for 21 days. It's from now on.
I got you. Do you think, just how I've been my whole life and like the trouble I've got into, like even got trouble with the law before? Do you think it's like kind of funny now that like my goal and what I would like to do is be a police officer? Do you think that's a little weird?
No, I think people growing up, they make a lot of little things that they regret. They do things they wish they hadn't have ever done, but they can't take it back. That don't make you that person. That just makes you a person that's trying to find their way through life and figure out things. And sometimes people does a better job than others. Mm-hmm. Now that you're 25, I think you've got a lot of things figured out. And
would you think like this year, like because I've really I made New Year's resolutions and stuff, and I think 2019, like for myself, like so far, I'd say this has been like one of my better years I've had, since I was out of high school. Would you say that?
I would definitely say that.
Like I've done the best this year, and then like as far as like life, then I've done.
Yes, you turned the page and you've got back on track, and you haven't got off track, mm-hmm. and that's the main thing. Stay on that path, stay on that track, and don't look back.
Yeah, like
because you don't have time to look back. You gotta go, and just because you're 25, and a lot of people 25 has got a lot of things under their belt, that don't mean anything for your success in life. Mm-hmm. I know kids that's waited to 33, 34 years old. I've heard all kinds of stories that they've turned their life around, and they're doing great.
Yeah. So,
yeah, I think that you're doing great. Me and your mother talks about it all the time. And the thing about it is, you talk about high school. Chase Blevins has been a good kid and a fun kid. And then Chase Blevins got off track and didn't even know him. Couldn't even be around him. Wasn't fun, wasn't funny. He wasn't laughing. He wasn't enjoying life. He was struggling. Well, as a parent, I see that, and I didn't turn my back on you. I kept right there with you the whole time, and now I see this Chase Blevins that I really love being around coming back. Not 100% yet, but it's getting close.
Yeah.
So, and that's why, a lot of times I talk to you on the phone or send you a text. I say, proud of you. Keep going. And that's what I mean by that. You keep going. Because, man, turning back, it just wipe it out. And you being where you're at now, where would you rather be? Would you rather be here now, or would you rather been back 2 years ago?
Now. Yeah.
Okay, and that's all I'm saying. You're doing great. So, you can't base things that people got off track through their life. The biggest thing to me that I seen you grow up, and I know how you was raised, and I see that you're coming back to wanting a good life for yourself. You're wanting a good life for your son. You're wanting a family. And that's good. A lot of people don't get to see that. And a lot of people don't know to come back to something like that. But you do know that that's what you want, and you're working for it. You've been at this job. You set a goal for this job. You've been there, 8 months? 2 years ago,
Yeah, it wouldn't it'd be like that.
You know, it wouldn't have been like that. So there's a lot of good things changing in your life, and just, you know, don't look back at the past and brain yourself like, oh, you know, I can't get over that. Well, sure, you can get over that. You can get over that the next day.
Yeah.
You just gotta start shooting for your goals.
Stuff like that, it's kind of irritating. Like, you know, it don't really get irritating for me really a lot of the time, but like it can be like, because I like now, like how I am now, like you're kind of different in this area. Like I try not to let other people's opinion bother me too much. Like I don't really like let it affect my choices. I'm gonna do me. That's just kind of the end of the deal. And you're like that, I guess. You know, it ain't gonna affect your life decisions, but you're a little more cautious of, like, you know, what you let people know about you, and you know what I'm saying. You know, but it does suck, because I grew up, you know, it does suck because I did grow up very, very nice. I grew up, you know, in the best home in the whole town, best mom, dad, like best house, you know, like doing good, like fun, wholesome family stuff, like, and I was that good kid. Like I was a athletic kid, I was good looking, sharp, fun kid, and I was nice, and like I was really caring for people, and that's something that, like, just speaking on that for a second, like the caring for people and being like very genuine and loving people, that's something that stayed with me, like I think through the years, no matter what. Like I've always like loved people, you know what I mean. I've been in like situations where I can't like give, you know, someone as much as I'd want to, or I can't be the best person, but I always like had a love for them,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean. But and it just sucks, like people, you know, now, like a lot of them wasn't there when I was fine, when I was like a little kid and I was fine, I was good, and they didn't know me then, or they didn't see that, or even if they did see it, you know, now they've seen me how I've been in the last few years, you know, since high school, and they just see that, and they don't. And even if I try to go back, you know, like to how I used to be, like I'm doing now, like I'm trying to, you know, get things on track, and I feel like I'm doing good, like it for a lot of people it won't even matter. Like I've branded myself in some people's skull as, like, you know, some guy, like a dopehead or something, like, or just like a bad person, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people just think that about me for the rest of my life, and that's just something about human nature I don't think is very good. And we're not a very forgiving species. You know, some people are different, you know, but I'm sure there's a lot of people who would just never really think good of me ever again. That's kind of sad.
Well, and I can see that point, but here's another point to that. You know, I think people loves to see people straighten their lives up. And once you really get your life straightened up and you start treating people like you should treat them and be able to get along with them, I think that's pretty quick to be forgotten about the bad times, you know. So I think the majority of the people that's touched you in your life would welcome Chase Blevins back.
Mm-hmm.
And they want Chase Blevins back. So, no, I don't. And the ones that's going to bring you for that from now on,
yeah, they were like rooting for me anyway.
I don't think they're the people that touched your lives anyway. So they're going to do whatever they're going to do. But the majority of the people that really mean something in your life will be very quick to open their arms and welcome Chase Blevins back. I know. I've seen Chase, and you know, there's nobody watches Chase like I do.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen Chase in years. And I've got to see Chase, especially in the last 6 months. And I said, that's my boy. You know, that's Chase. And I'd almost forgot how Chase was. So, yeah, that, you know, you've got it. People will love you. People will welcome you back. And life will give you that chance. But you can't fool around with it too much. Next thing you know, your opportunities as a young man will be gone. And that's when you want opportunities. Opportunities at 60 don't mean as much as opportunities at 25. So, you know, it's serious. It's serious. But you told me about how I don't open up and I don't let people see me, and I worry about what people think. No, here's the bottom line to that, Chase. The bottom line to that, I worry about what I think. I want to be a good person, and I've got my ideas of what makes a good person, and that's what I want to be. I want to be a hard-working person. I want to be a very honest person, a truthful person, a kind-hearted person. I don't want to, and I want to be that person. I don't do that for a show. I don't do that for people to say, look at him. I'm not faking this. This is what I want to be. So
well, what I meant by that is like there's been times where what I was saying, like I've, like with you, like here's something I've told people about you. Like I've said it on this show. Like I've never in my life came across. I'm not saying this because you're my dad. Like I've never, like my mom even says about you. Like, I've never came across another person. Like I've never seen another relationship in my life like ours, and how like you feel towards me. You know what I mean? Like I've never seen a dad care about their son the way you have me. I'm not just saying that to be nice. I'm being honest. Like can you think of anybody have you seen something like that before?
Well, you know, I can't say
like ever.
I can't say how other people feel, but I can say how I feel.
Yeah, I've never got a sense of anybody ever feeling that way about their son the way you do about me. Like it's like I'm your only thing. Like I'm your only possession is me. Like you just love me a lot.
Well, here's the deal.
And what I was just gonna tell, like what I meant, like, and it's like you didn't want, you say, I've been pretty, while I was making all these mistakes and like, having all these like shortcomings and messing up all the time. Like I wasn't very honest about it then. Like I was pretty, like low key about my mistakes while I was making them. But now I reflect back and I look back, and for me. And for me to deal with it, to like, have closure with it, and for me to feel better about it, to feel better about my mistakes, is to like, I feel like it's good for me to talk about it and like let the world know, because I feel like it might even help someone or make somebody feel better about their past and like come to terms with what they did and make them just live a better life. And that's why I do that. And it's almost like, man, that's your business. Like you shouldn't put your business out there like that. But like, I'm not putting my business out there just to put my business out there. Like I'm doing it for reasons. Like I'm doing it because I know it's like a cliche for someone to say, "Well, I hope it helps somebody," but I really do. Like there's sometimes I'll get feedback from people who watch my show and they'll say, "Hey, man, like that really hit home with me. I really like that you said that." And that's like the reason I do this show. Somebody asked me once, "Why do you do this show?" And like I feel like I've been through enough and made enough mistakes for everyone that I could come here and talk about it. And like I can tell you about it. You don't have to go through it yourself. You can just listen to me, and that's enough for you. You can learn from my mistakes and not go make them yourself.
That would be great if that's the way it played.
But I mean, it can play like that sometimes. Like especially for people who's already done stuff. Like you can come to terms with it. Yeah. If they just hear somebody being open about it. And
I've seen some of your shows that you have done that, and
like this last solo show, I've not released it yet, but that's like heavy. I did. I was like an hour and a half by myself, and like it was like. I'm not released. It'll be released probably in like 2 weeks, and it'll be released before this one. But it was like heavy talking about myself and heavy talking about stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I liked it. It was like one of the most rewarding shows I did. It feels really good for me to be able to come here and do that. And I was, I know like this ain't something you do and you don't do podcasts, but like I've been on you about doing it because like when how you feel good, like you always I talked about this on the last show, but you'll talk to me about like. How if once you say if you don't want to do something or something you need to get done and you'll do it and then you'll feel better, you'll feel better after it's done. Like this is one of those things for me. Like I know I needed to do one. I needed to get a show that way I can have a show to release for for a Wednesday for them Wednesdays coming. I don't need to fall behind. I don't need to slack. And after I'm done, I'm gonna be like, woo, I did it. I'm gonna feel great about it. You know what I'm saying? That's one of those. This is like like you wash your truck and feel good. Like this is like washing my truck. You know what I'm saying?
Me and Audie washed the truck.
Well, or anything like like whatever you do that I got it done makes you feel good. Like this is one of those things for me doing the podcast.
Yeah, and I think that's important in life.
I feel accomplished, like I've done something, And there's people that do podcasts in this state, and like they have sponsors. I've talked to you about, man, how do I get a sponsor? You know what I'm saying? Like, and you can say what you want about this show, but there's just not another show in this state that's like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think if somebody would have been here, like we've had a live audience watching us talk, they would have liked what we've talked about. They would have been, like consumed in our conversation. They would have loved it.
Yeah.
And you talk about some people like topics. What we've just done is like a human interest piece. Like, it's very personal. And don't you feel like don't you just think that can just relate to people and then like that?
It can.
Because there's not a show that does this like I do. Like, I think this is the best show I don't know a lot of shows in the state, but if there's somebody that can beat this one, they got a pretty damn good show. Like, for real.
Yeah.
I mean that.
But, it's just like, I forgot what I was going to say. But I've seen some of your shows where you've hit on some, pretty hard to handle topics.
Like for you to watch, like a dad to watch his son talk about it.
People don't want to face things that happen sometimes, especially when it comes to drugs, or mainly drugs, And I've seen you do a show the other day that, and I'm just going to tell you who, when Damien, that show of Damien, I thought that was a pretty good show. You have to understand, Damien didn't want to be where Damien was, but that drug is very powerful, and it had a hold of him. And when it gets a hold of you so hard, a lot of people think, well, it's up to you. It is. A whole lot of it is up to you. But I think sometimes you have to have help making that turn, or you can never turn loose of it. And I think sometimes it's good to talk about and show different supports and different ways of people doing good. The way that we've done it is different from most anything that people believes in. But I'll tell you how I done it and how we done it. I got you back home, and I counted it a blessing to get you home. Some people don't come home, but you was willing to come home. You was wanting help. So the key thing.
You keep moving that thing.
The key thing, you was wanting help. So, and the biggest thing that I've tried to do is to understand that it is a problem, to understand that it has a strong hold on you. But the other thing was...
I would imagine it would still be very, even to see it firsthand with your son going through it, I would imagine it's still very difficult to try to understand what it really... You're saying very, obvious things, like it has a hold on you, it's tough, but to really grasp, what it truly is, it's like, unless you've been through the experience, I don't think it's possible to understand, how fucking truly, hard, and how much, because I'm tough, I'm a tough person, I can get hit in the head, and fuck it, I don't care, hit me in the head 5 times, I'm gonna be fine. You know what I'm saying? I can deal with stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I've overcame all kinds of stuff in my life and came out fine. Trox will beat me, and for 12 months I worked real hard, and I wore him out, didn't I? Wore him out, the next year, and I got a hold of him in wrestling.
But
it's just a tough thing.
The biggest thing that I've done is loved you. I've supported you and loved you and dealt with you. It wasn't easy. Believe me, it's not been easy.
Yeah.
But I've dealt with it. And I see a lot of parents, and I do, I look and I've studied and I've talked to hundreds of people trying to figure out the way to approach it. I feel that just a blessing. I can't take any credit for it because there's a lot of things that had to happen for it to turn. But there's a lot of people out there that still got problems. I've got really good friends that's got their children, and they've got major, major problems.
Yeah.
And
it was like substance abuse is what you're saying?
Yeah.
They have drug problems?
Yeah. And, I would never turn my back on you. I would never give up on you. And I've told Gina, I said, I'm here.
That's my mom.
I'm here until I die because I don't want to lose him, And there's been times that I've felt like giving up. There's been times that I felt like, I just can't do it no more. As you don't even understand anything close to what I've been through as a parent. And you talk about a parent that loves you the way I do. You don't have a clue on what all I've been through, but I've been through it. But I didn't want to give up and lose you. And then where would I be? Where would I be then? So that's the way I looked at it. Yeah. That's the way I've looked at it. And it's all working, So hopefully parents will. It's tough. I haven't got time to sit here and tell you how to fix it. But
you don't probably have the answer just to completely
No.
fix something like that.
No, I don't.
I don't think that's been prescribed yet to anyone.
No. But
There's definitely, like we even know people, like we've seen, like back home, who's had kids, not just with, drug issues, like just issues, like they've faced, trouble, and like we've seen parents, like, just kind of the way they deal with it, they well, if you ain't gonna do right, you just ain't gonna, you're gonna do it on your own. And for me, like you talked about what you did, like with stand by my side and stuff. For me, like in my mind, there's no other, like I knew that was there. I never had a thing in my mind of like I'm not gonna have something to go home to. Like for me, there's no other option. There's no other way to deal with that. There's no other thing that would make any sense than like for me to be able to count on you. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like, but for some people, that's really, and I don't get that. And like, I'm thinking of like Audie's mom right now. Like I'm thinking of like how she has thought about stuff like that, and I just can't understand how she would think any other way's okay to deal with something like that. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like she would almost want you to just to say like fuck you to me.
Well, there's a lot of people that sees that's what needs to be done.
But what does that do besides hurt someone? You didn't do that, so you don't agree.
Which I've even talked to doctors about that right there, and most of them has told me to stop
what?
Stop supporting, stop everything. Let him go. Let him out on the street. Let him go. There was only one that I've talked to that said they can say that, but out of 10, only one of them comes back.
Mm-hmm.
9 of them dies. Well, I didn't want that to happen. Now, if I could turn my back and let you go and you come back, I would have. I'd have done whatever. But I didn't want to take that chance on you not coming back. I'd probably been out there with you. That's just me. I see, like I said, I'm not saying this is the way for everybody, but it's worked for us so far. And I can't say anything else about it because, like I said, it's a big, big problem, and there's just not one answer.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen 2 other guys that had problems with their child, and they took the approach that I did. Mm-hmm. Both of them still got their sons. Both sons are doing good, real good. So, and I've seen the approach that they turn their backs and put them out and no support. And I haven't seen them come back. Not to say they won't. Not to say it won't work. But I haven't seen it work yet. And I have seen the other 2 work. Yeah. Well, actually, I've seen 3 of them work. Another family member, it worked. Took a long, long time, but it worked. So, that's all.
That's all, folks.
That's all on that.
Yeah.
You know.
But I tell you what, I think it'd be just a good taste right there. I think we've had a good show. We've been here for an hour and 13 minutes now. I think we're just gonna go ahead, wrap it up. We got some stuff to do. Go hang out with Audie for a little bit, eat some food.
Enjoy life.
Got Steve-O moving in here tomorrow.
Enjoy life.
You know Steve-O Gant?
Yeah.
Moving in here tomorrow.
I remember them.
Battery's about to die. But I think, looks like, I think the camera's off. I don't know. It might not be off. But this has been episode 39 of Curfew and my podcast with my dad, Randy Blevins. Appreciate you coming. Let's get a good smack for the microphone. No, good smack. What? No, what is wrong with you?
I don't know what to.
Shh, gotta do it. Ready? No, a good one. Like this right here. Listen. Make it sound like this. Okay, ready? You are a little girl, son.
Good enough.
He's bad off boys. But I love you. This has been No Curfew. We'll see you later. What was that noise? Oh, Lord. That's a dandy one.
I thought it turned out pretty good.
Me too.